Now, we've got our reporters on the ground stationed at various key points. Linda Mnisi is in the Johannesburg CBD. Govan Whittles joins us live from the Union Buildings. Zikona Chona is in Seshego this morning, and Atim Tungana is live to us in Cape Town. Linda, let's kick off our coverage with you this morning. Promises of shutdowns around the country, of people gathering wherever they are. What are you seeing?
Well, Michelle, we are outside the Joburg CBD. One of the taxi ranks, in fact, in Joburg CBD is the Central Park taxi rank, North taxi rank, if you like. And as you can see behind me, members of the Economic Freedom Fighters have already started gathering here, singing, and now they're distributing placards as part of their national shutdown. They've been doing this for quite some time. When we arrived this morning, a few members were arriving, and that's, the scene that's been playing out throughout the morning. I'm going to try to come in and read some of the placards that we're seeing. We are tired of corruption. You'll remember amongst some of the things that underpins this national shutdown is, of course, the issue around corruption. And we're seeing some of them saying our people sleep hungry, crime is too high, and a few of those other placards that EFF members are holding outside this taxi rank. It's among some of the busiest taxi ranks in Joburg CBD, linking commuters to various destinations. Let's bring in the deputy chairperson of the EFF here in Johannesburg, Victor. Victor, thank you so much for your time. Let's talk about this demonstration that we're seeing now. It seems you're not blocking the taxi rank. Commuters are able to get into public transport and travel to various destinations.
Yes, indeed, it's true. My name is Victor Sinyato. I'm the deputy chairperson of the EFF in Johannesburg. We are not blocking anybody who goes into the taxi rank. As we have said that we are not going to block anyone who goes into the taxi rank. We are just here on a peaceful march. We are going to demonstrate that we don't want Cyril. And right now, today as we speak, the entire inner city is having electricity. But in the past 2 days, we didn't have electricity. Let's say for the past 5 days, we didn't have electricity. But right now, we're having electricity. But I just wanted to touch mostly on the police. The police who shot our comrades yesterday night, comrades who have been marching very peacefully, the students, innocent students who were just distributing pamphlets, giving people pamphlets to come and join the march, they were shot by very brutal, evil policemen. We are saying to the policemen, what they are doing is not correct. They were just ordinary kids who were just distributing pamphlets. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Talk to us about then what the plan is going forward, right? We've been able to, drive around the inner city, and it's been relatively quiet. Are more members going to be joining you here, and what are you going to be doing thereafter?
It's not true that the inner city have been quiet. I can even give you pictures. Yesterday we were busy the whole night. We keep the police very busy. They must be honest to you and give you the right stats. Tell them must talk the truth. Yesterday night we were very busy. We were running around. There's a number of comrades who are coming from south, who are coming from east. We are all going together here and move around the inner city and shut down the entire country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. That's Victor Sinyato there. He is the deputy chairperson of the EFF here in Johannesburg, talking to us about what they've been able to do. Michelle saying that it's not true, in fact, that the inner city has been quiet. He's saying something totally different from what we have been able to see. So these are the scenes that are playing out. But as you would have heard in that intro and in what I said earlier to Victor about commuters being able to access the taxi rank, there are a number of bystanders here who are, of course, observing what the EFF is doing. If you look around, the entrance, people being able to move freely in and out of the taxi rank itself. Around this time, you would expect that traffic or there would be a lot of movement here. It would be a hive of activity. But what we're seeing is a relatively calm environment. Taxis, of course, being able to operate. Let's try to speak to some of the people who are operating in the taxi industry. ngibonga isikhathi sakho baba ngespeed nje mawungasichazela siyabona niyakwazi ukusebenza nanoma ama-members we-EFF ala ngaphandle erenkini.
Yebo siyakwazi phela ukusebenza abasihluphi silayisha kamnandi imoto ziyaphuma ziyahamba.
Ama-passenger wona a-right athini kini mawukhuluma naye?
Hayi awahlukumezekile nawo. Akhululekile siwagadi.
Viva EFF, viva!
All right, so what we're being told, Michelle, of course, from those who are operating taxis, as you can see, this taxi now being filled to capacity and will be leaving this taxi rank. They're telling us that they are able to operate. The members of the EFF are not disturbing their operations, and that, their commuters are not threatened in any way.
Linda Mnisa, live to us there from the Johannesburg CBD. Thanks very much indeed, Linda. Let's take you live now to the capital city. That's where we find Newzroom Afrika's Govan Whittles. And Govan, the Union Buildings, that's where the EFF will be calling for the president's resignation.
That is where they'll be calling for his resignation. We're coming to you live from the Pretoria CBD, just a few hundred meters from the High Court. We're in Paul Kruger Square. This square, a few years ago, being the target of the EFF for the statue, which of course is the representative of the then Zuid-Afrikaanse Republiek. Really a statue which represents the apartheid era and everything oppression stood for during that time. But with me now I do have the national spokesperson of the EFF, Sinao Tambo. He'll speak to us about what we've seen last night, this morning, and then how this shutdown has been progressing throughout the morning. Mr. Tambo, thank you for your time. Let's begin with what we've seen across the country, really, at a number of higher education institutions. Universities have been shut down. That does seem to be the focal point of the shutdown at the moment. And we've seen the police responding in different areas across the country to the EFF Student Command. What do you make of what happened with the mobilization last night and how that's progressed?
The EFF is extremely proud of the youth of South Africa, which has come out in its numbers and affirmed the President's call that the youth of South Africa has never been cowards. The youth of South Africa has always been the forefront of leading the struggles of our people and inspiring the consciousness of society, be it in the 1960s, in 1976, and during the 1980s state of emergency. It was the youth that was at the forefront and at the center of militancy and ensuring that regimes which are dictatorships, regimes which are corrupt, regimes which neglect people into poverty are confronted directly. We are proud of the youth and we are calling on them to continue coming out in their numbers. Despite what happened in Bramfontein, where we saw police arrest young women who had done nothing. No business was open in the early mornings or early hours of this morning. No one was going to work. No one was being obstructed. But this military, these police, who are supposedly deployed to defend so-called businesses from looting, arrested over 57 people. For what? Why are those people arrested? Why are they in jail? Because no crime was committed that is verifiable in terms of the protests that have been happening. So we're proud of the youth and we're saying to them, be fearless. We're saying to the parents of the youth in South Africa, don't watch your children get murdered and abused and sit on the sidelines. Come out and ensure that Ramaphosa resigns for the failures that he has presided over in this country.
Seen mostly university students, EFF Student Command, the youth come to protest so far, but this was a call for the entire populace to join the national shutdown. What do you make of how it's been received and what you've seen so far?
Look, we're still very much impressed with the turnout in terms of people coming out at midnight, which is when the national shutdown began. And all across the country, in East London, in Cape Town, in Natteridgeville, in Soweto, in Tembisa, in Seshego, in Durban, in Port Shepstone, our people are out, blocking the roads, marching towards ensuring that here the guys for his resignations. We're making sure that the people of South Africa register their voices about the massive unemployment, the massive gender-based violence, the high rates of crime that in this country are confronting. And I think South Africans must take note that this is the most massive deployment of law enforcement agencies since the state of emergency in the 1980s. We've never seen so much police presence in South Africa, which shows that this state is capable of protecting our people. They just choose not to. They are capable of protecting a president who has been implicated in money laundering and of course has failed to lead this country. Peaceful protesters are being shot at, are being arrested in South Africa for demanding the resignation of a president. And that is the type of bloodthirsty nature government that we have here.
Right now we're seeing members of the EFF, supporters of the EFF in Paul Kruger Square, many of them waiting around. We saw earlier this morning, it's a normal day in the Pretoria city centre. what's going to happen after this?
Look, our people are going to come out in their numbers. Pretoria CBD was filled with students and ordinary people from midnight up until the early hours around 4 a.m. in the morning. And we're not going to exhaust ourselves. We have a very deliberate strategy of how we're going to approach this national shutdown. We're not going to be deterred by anyone. We're not going to be intimidated by anyone. They can go on TV and give as many briefings as they want to give to try and give a sense that everything is as normal. But we know Ford has removed its cars from its plants. We know that certain businesses in Bramfontein have not to open today. We know that certain places around South Africa have decided not to continue with normal operations. So the myth that everything is continuing as business as normal is debunked by many activities that resemble that there is closure. Traffic is not as congested as it normally is here in the city of Tshwane, in Sandton, and of course across Johannesburg as well. Hawkers in Seshego have joined the protest. So all across South Africa, those who they think that who they were using as propaganda that they are defending are actually coming out and joining this national shutdown.
Are you going to go to the union buildings?
We're going to go everywhere. Of course, the Union Buildings is a possible destination for the national shutdown of the EFF. But expect protest everywhere. In Oliphant Holt, Bosch here in Tshwane, everywhere. We're going to express our dissatisfaction and we're going to expose the lie that everything is going on as normal. It's going to expose itself as the day progresses. But we must condemn the excessive presence of military and law enforcement agencies to quell peaceful protests against the president. It resembles a nation that has gone into a military state, and the end of the rule of the ANC is going to be marked by bloodshed and this type of behavior, and we must be careful of that.
Thank you so much. So now Tambo is the national spokesperson for the EFF. We'll leave these visuals of the EFF members warming up, essentially. We'll be following them for the rest of the day, but also trying to keep an eye on some of the busy points in the Pretoria city centre. For now, though, Michelle, it's back to you.
Govan, thanks very much for that, and an apology to our viewers for the quality of our connection to Govan. He joins us live there from the capital. Let's take you to Cape Town this morning. That's where we find Ati Mtungana, who's monitoring that leg of the story. Ati, several national key points around the country being monitored as of this morning. In Cape Town, that includes the airport, Parliament, and the provincial legislature. What can you tell us about what you see on the streets of the city?
Well, first of all, Michelle, I can assure you that the areas that you've just mentioned, the national key points, including the precinct around Parliament, does have police guarding it just outside the precinct. This, of course, emanates from issues in Parliament related to the Parliament fire. Since the fire, there have been police deployed to stand outside the parliamentary precinct. But where we are, Michelle, is the Cape Town taxi rank, the busiest taxi rank in Cape Town, and this is the feeder taxi rank that picks up people from different communities around Cape Town. And what we've seen here, Michelle, is that people are going about their day. They started their day quite early this morning. From 7 a.m. we started seeing taxis coming into the CBD, dropping off commuters that are coming from different communities around Cape Town. We know that the taxi industry is one of those that has come out to say that they will not necessarily be part of this shutdown, and so you can see they are operating as per usual. And as you can see right there in front of the camera, I'm sure if my colleague can pan and show you that there are law enforcement officers that are here at the Cape Town taxi rank. We normally actually see them here on a daily basis, but I presume that the deployment has been beefed up for this particular day of the national shutdown. You would recall, Michelle, that I think it was last night when we had the MACO member for safety here in Cape Town, JP Smith, coming on to say that there's about 3 interdicts here in Cape Town against this national shutdown. That, of course, including that one coming from the official opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, which governs this province, which has been vehemently against the shutdown. Earlier on last week, we spoke to the leader of the party, John Steenhuisen, who said that they will be doing everything that they can as the ruling party in this province to ensure that the shutdown does not go as planned. But I can assure you, Michelle, that there are some EFF members across various communities which we will be touching base with much later on. We spoke to some of the leadership of the economic freedom fighters, particularly in Nyanga, and they were saying there that some of the EFF members were being targeted by the police by trying to go out, of course, and be part of the national shutdown. So we'll definitely head out to Nyanga and many other communities where we believe that EFF members have gathered to join the national shutdown. But basically, Michelle, what we see here at the Cape Town CBD is a reflection of the movement that is coming out of the communities, because these taxis are coming from different communities and they are busing people into the CBD. They are going to work. They are arriving in Cape Town. Many of them that I spoke to earlier on said they had no problems coming out of their communities into the Cape Town CBD.
Ati Mtungana live to us there from a rainy Cape Town morning. Ati, thanks very much indeed. From the Western Cape, let's take you this morning to Polokwane, to Seshego. That's where protesters are gathered for the shutdown, and our reporter Zikona Chona is tracking that leg of the story. Zikona, we spoke to you in the 6 o'clock hour of the program. A couple of hours later, what has changed?
So, Michelle, indeed, we did speak at 6 o'clock. We started off outside the University of Limpopo. We do see there that one of the gates is heavily guarded by police following protesting last night by students. Students have vowed to continue protesting throughout this day. They say they will close roads near the university. We then move to Polokwane CBD. It seems to be relatively quiet. We are now in Seshego. This is Julius Malema's hometown. This is where he is from. And you can certainly see this is the first crowd we've seen out of Polokwane who have heeded to the call to shut down roads and basically come out in the streets in protest. It's also the one area where we've seen the heaviest police presence in the shutdown around Polokwane so far. Those who've come out are saying they came out because of no jobs, high cost of living. When we spoke to that student outside the university, he said he's basically stayed in varsity because he knows once he graduates or once he leaves university, there are no jobs available for him out there. But another student who's at the protest here in Seshego is Tweni, who says he graduated in 2018, has never worked, and that's basically been his motivation to come out here today and protest. Talk to us more about that.
My name is Tweni. Good evening to the listeners of the viewers of the Newzroom Afrika.
Yeah.
So I'm here because I'm affected by the unemployment that affected all the youth, many youth in South Africa. So today I'm here to protest for my rights because I want to work like other people. So my family invested on me going to school, so I want to pay them for what they did for me. But I'm failing because there's no jobs in South Africa. So today we are here. It's a democratic country. So we are calling ANC and the ones that are governing to give us jobs, or unless we're gonna vote them out in 2024.
Yeah. You were saying that you are hoping this will be successful. What are your hopes? What are you hoping will come out of this protest?
I'm hoping for the better. And I'm happy for the youth that are going out here protesting for their rights. It's very much important to see youth. They are frustrated, yeah. It's understandable for them to come here because it's going to be beneficial for them. If we don't say, who's going to say for us? So I'm here as a youth. I'm 25 years old. I'm a graduate, but I don't have a job. I'm calling for Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa must fall and the government of ANC must fall because we are in a crisis. It's not the only jobs. We have economy that is collapsing every day. We have high cost of living. There's a many GBV it's happening every day. So the police are running here. But when we calling them for GPV, our sisters have been killed every day. So we are calling them to do the job every day. What they are doing here is what we want for our daily basis. So thank you for the...
It's okay, young man. Thank you so much. That's Tweni graduated in 2018, 25 years old, says he's never worked a day in his life, and that's basically been his motivation to come out here. He said his family invested in him by taking him to school, and he's basically not been able to make a living for himself outside of that. And with that, it's back to you, Michelle.
Sikona, thanks very much indeed for that update. Live to us there from Seshego in Polokwane. Let's take you now to Karinda Jagmahan, who is monitoring the Durban leg of the shutdown. And of course, Karinda, your province is of particular importance given the significance following the 2021 July riots.
Yeah. Absolutely, Michelle. The concern was whether police would be ready for the national shutdown and to attend to the blockades that we saw, especially during the July riots 2 years ago. Remember, just after that, police were criticized for what the South African Human Rights Commission says was a slow response for various reasons. But today, we've seen police across many streets here in Durban. In fact, just coming to this central area in Durban, there are a number of police vehicles. There have been sporadic incidents of protests here where we saw people coming and placing tires across the road trying to block areas, but police quickly intervened. Where I'm standing now, actually, I see the KZN Police Commissioner coming towards us, so we're going to be speaking live to him as well right now in a few seconds. Actually, he's almost here about what the police have been doing. They say they've made several arrests, taken away thousands of tires as well across the general area of Durban, but more so an update about the greater KwaZulu-Natal area. We saw sporadic incidents in Inanda. There's some incidents happening in Port Shepstone, which is south of the province, as well as in Newcastle. There were some blockades just last night. But the KZN Police Commissioner is here, Mr. Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. He's just getting a quick briefing, and we're going to speak to him now about the state of readiness for the rest of the day. It's somewhat quiet in the Durban CBD area right now because of the excess police that are around the area, and some, of course, questioning if this can happen more often, especially. You'll see the police commissioner here just taking a look around one of the helicopters they have, just in terms of which is looking from the skies down on the various blockades that are happening with regards to the EFF. We saw specifically in Inanda there were some instances, as well as in KwaMashu, some instances of violence here as well. But Michelle, the main concern over the past night was shopping malls, because remember, KwaZulu-Natal still has that trauma of the July 2021 unrest where a number of shopping malls were looted at the time. So you can imagine that that is the biggest concern. What I've also noticed is private security companies that are being used across businesses in KwaZulu-Natal. I see private security companies also roaming around in terms of their vehicles, just being present outside malls, outside private businesses as well. And we have seen community policing forums be present outside various suburbs as well. You would have seen on social media posts where community members are showing just their presence. For example, in Sydenham, which is nearby Durban, a number of people just standing outside their local petrol stations as well, just trying to have a presence to make sure that no looting takes place in this shutdown, as we heard the threats of violence in that media briefing by the EFF a few days ago. So we're just waiting for the police commissioner to be done with his briefing from the gentleman here, and of course give us an idea of what is going to happen in the days, in the few hours to come as well. The concern especially is going into this evening when more protests are expected to take place. So we do expect police to update us on what will happen with regards to their deployments this evening. This helicopter that you see before you has been in the sky for quite a while this morning with the pilots that you see there. That's just giving an update to the police commissioner about what they saw on the ground with regards to the various protests. But what we have seen with just a general chat from the police here is that they have made arrests over the past night. They've confiscated tires because that was the major concern about what has been happening. So we're about to grab the police commissioner. If you can just stay with us for a few more seconds so he can give us that update. And like you said, remember, just last week we were speaking to the police commissioner about concerns that police would not be ready for this shutdown because of the criticism they faced from last year, but they said that they were not, from 2021 rather, but they said at the time that that shutdown or that looting and violence that they saw was something that came as a surprise following the arrest of the former president, whereas this is something that they're better prepared for because of the announcement by the political party. So, Michelle, I'll throw it back to you, but do stay on our visuals, though, because we're about to grab the police commissioner for that briefing, and he'll give you an idea of the safety for KwaZulu-Natal residents.
Very much for that. Yeah, he seems deep in conversation there as they continue to prepare for monitoring the situation in your province. Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is the Provincial Police Commissioner there in KwaZulu-Natal. Just as soon as we can, Kulunda Jagmohan will bring us a quick update with him.